Without Losing Your Cool is back for another season, talking to incredible people who have overcome and who have paved their own ways. Just when you think that life has got you down, I've got guests that are going to show you that there's always a way back up. You do not want to miss a thing. All right, Without Losing Your Cool podcast listeners and friends and family, you asked and I'm delivering. I did a poll and I was like, who would you guys like to see from the past come back up on Without Losing Your Cool? And in fairness, which guys, you got to get a little more creative. Yannick, the girls, and then this lovely lady was in the top 5. Gina Livy, you're back. Oh my God. And how much has your life changed since we talked just a couple years ago?
Oh, there was a lot going on. I think that was like right after my kid's dad passed away. I think
Exactly.
Like, I don't even remember what I said or what we talked about. I think that last couple of years have just been a big, massive blur. So I'm glad that I get another chance at it.
No, you were phenomenal. Obviously, you were phenomenal because they said, Gina, we want to hear more from Gina. I was like, I'll see if I can arrange that. And you were like, yes. And I was like, okay, here we go. No, I mean, it was a shit show, right? I mean, we had the 2 years of COVID, then your ex-husband fell ill and then passed. And in all of that, while you're building this incredible empire of yours, hello, you're like, I'm just going to make it a little busier. I'm just going to go get married.
I thought you were going to mention menopause. Yeah,
Oh, shit. No. Okay, you got married in menopause. How does that, I mean, we got so much to talk about. It's crazy.
I know. When you say it out loud, I guess this is why I avoid saying it out loud. Yeah, I think I function from a place of denial probably, or hoping for the best, or yeah, probably more denial.
What do you mean denial?
Well, I have a lot going on. I got my 4 kids and there's some stuff going on there. I got some mental health issues with one of them. I got another one in rehab right now.
Wow.
There's a lot going on. Life has been very difficult for not just us adults, but the kids. The world has, been uprooted for them in a variety of different ways. First the pandemic and then their dad, and then trying to navigate life as young adults and social media. It's incredibly difficult. And then I have this company. I don't know how all of a sudden I have like 40 something employees, which feels weird even just saying that. And so here I am running this business.
Yeah.
Like what? When did that happen? So there's a lot, you add my business and just trying to help, hundreds of thousands of people successfully lose weight finally and forever. Keep it all.
Not a big job at all. Just lose weight finally and forever. Like how many of us are constantly gaining that 10, 15 pounds, right? We're gaining it, we're losing it, we're gaining it and losing it. But finally and forever. Wow. Okay. Let's go back because I've had you on before and everybody knows your why, how you became who you are right here, right now, sitting there. If we could do it like in very Cole's notes, why are you a maven and a trailblazer in the losing weight finally and forever landscape? Because let's talk about Instagram. There are so many charlatans out there right now. My daughters were telling me because their TikTok accounts were US based because we were in LA when TikTok happened. So they put them on their US phones and US accounts, yada, yada, yada. So there was apparently, and I'm not active on TikTok, but there was like a whole bunch of these TikTok influencers being like, well, it's blowing up. So I'm just going to be truthful. I tricked you guys into thinking I'm a fitness girly and really no, it's Ozempic. Peace out. You bought my classes, you bought my program, right? And so here you are all these years later riding through the wave of the craze and scammers.
Yeah, I think I've always been a very polarizing personality. I've always been someone you probably liked or I rubbed you the wrong way. I wasn't very good. I remember my dad saying, can you just learn to play the game? Oh. And I'm not a learn to play the game type of girl. I'm just like, I got to do me and I got to do it in the way that works for me. And it's been a rough road with that kind of mentality. get to where I am, but it's probably why I got to where I was. I think I was doing authentic long before people were trying to be authentic. I remember
acting authentic.
Yeah. And I remember in the early days of social media, I would go on and people would be like, well, you can't swear. You can't say that. Oh my gosh. And I'm just like, well, what? I don't want to, I got to show up and I just got to be me. So I think that's one of the reasons why I've been successful. I think also I have this genuine desire to help people. So I truly want you to be successful. Now, don't get it sideways. I'm also an entrepreneur. I want to run a really successful company. I want to enjoy all the amazing things that life has to offer. I want to have nice things. I want to travel. I want opportunities. But I also want to run an ethical company where I can sleep at night. And so I think being raised in a small town had a lot to do with that. And I think working in small towns where I would help people lose weight and knowing I would run into them at the grocery store or at the gym or at my kids' school. So I had to help people in a way that when they paid me decent money, that I could run into them time and time again and know that I've done something good for them.
Rather than them seeing you in the grocery store, I'm like, bitch, and them chasing you down the aisles. You told me it was forever, for always, and I got my 30 pounds back.
Gina! Right?
Yes.
And so I think I totally get why people have this massive mistrust.
Sure.
And they're just so skeptical, especially after trying any diets. And that's not lost on me. So I try to be the opposite of that. And what I do is I give people the real deal. Like, I don't blow smoke up your ass. I'm not bullshitting, which you wonder why people sign up for my program. Like, I don't actually even try to sell them. I'm just like, you got to be ready. You got to do the work. It's going to take longer than you think. It's going to be harder than you think. So I'm like the anti-seller of my program. So I think all those things in combination make me someone that you can really trust, because I really do have your best interest in mind. And when it comes to the business side of things, I don't promote things I don't believe in. I have to really believe in something, but I then also believe sharing is caring. So I don't gatekeep either.
Yeah.
And I'm not just trying to make a buck off of everything that I do. I mean, I do spend a lot of time trying to figure out how can I, continue to run a successful company and pay my bills. But it all stems from a really good place of just trying to be the best person I possibly can. I know it sounds so cliche. I don't.
No, it's actually
it sounds weird.
No, it actually doesn't, because I have to say that the world feels like it's been operating in the opposite for too long. You know what I mean? Where people are just wanting to make a buck, not because they want to help, not because they want to make a difference, but because, I know this one person who's a life coach, but she's been like a therapist, a life coach, and now a wealth coach, and like just kind of going through what's trendy and what people are wanting and just calling themselves an expert. And, I think we would do a greater service to people out in the world if we just stayed in our lane. And I think that that's something that's so cool. You've just been in your lane,
And I say that all the time. I mean, it's not just me. I have a lot of great guest experts that come on in my program and talk about the things that I maybe am knowledgeable about, but it's not my lane. I did this when my first husband got sick, and this is sort of where everything fell apart. He couldn't work. I had to stay home with the kids. We lost everything we worked hard for. And my marriage eventually just failed because there was just a lot of stress in that. And I found myself being like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I was like, what am I really good at? And where does my passion lie? And I knew it was in helping people, because I'd always help people lose weight, taught aerobics. I also worked in television, so I thought maybe that was the direction I was going to go in. But I spent a lot of time. It took 6 solid months, and been like, let me just, before I jump into the next thing, figure out what I want, what I'm really good at, and how I can serve and how I can help people. And at the time, it was really cool to say, well, I'm a la 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 la, and have all these things after your name. And I was just like, I just want to be really good at one thing. Just one thing. And I was like, weight loss. I love helping people lose weight. I have personal experience with that. Let me get really, really good at that. And I was already really good at that. And that focus, I think, was a game changer for me because I didn't try to do all the things. I just tried to do this one thing really well. And that's sort of my motto. When it comes to weight loss, I am probably the best of the best. I am so good at what I do. Everything else in my life is a total crapshoot, though. I just don't come to me for anything else.
Don't come to me for anything else. Well, you know what? I was speaking to another guest, and I think what we need to embrace more as humans, but I think women are more ready for it, is having more grace towards ourselves about like everything we're doing it for the first time. Except for the thing you are very, very talented at, that you're very good at, that you've been doing for a long time. Like my husband, he doesn't even study his lines anymore at home. You know, he's been doing Murdoch for 18 seasons. He goes to set, he works on it in the makeup trailer, and then he goes scene by scene. Whereas before, when he started the show, he didn't know the character. It was hard to speak in that older English language from the 1800s, you know, so he had to work at it.
Yeah.
But once you're good at what you just own it, be good at it, and then give yourself grace at the other things that are like constantly shifting, like momming.
Are we going to go there? Because I'm pretty sure we're going to need about a 10-hour-long podcast for that.
We're going to pull it. I say it all the time because I'm just like gobsmacked that Joe Rogan gets listened to for 3 hours. I'm like, but I know how it goes there. Like if I had my druthers, I would also talk for 3 hours, but I'm an independent. I need y'all just to like follow along and share it with your friends. So maybe I can do 5-hour episodes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
No, but I think, you know, it's if you are somebody who's listening who is a mom with kids, the thing with being a mother, when you're also passionate and talented and have your own business in the way that you do and have 40 employees, which you kind of mom a little bit. You know, I have 11 at my marina and they're all teens. And I got to tell you, I had some adults that used to work for me and my teens have always worked for me. And last summer was the first time I only had teens. Never did I think for one day of my life, I'd be like, give me 11 teens over 2 adults any day. I will gladly deal with teenagers. I thought, though, that's a shift. But, you know, yeah, with our kids, like we're always in new relationship with them because they're ever changing. And so are we, you know, like how did you build this empire and raise your kids, especially part of that time as a single mom?
Yeah. Most of the time as a single mom. With no help. My ex was just unable to help because he was just focused on trying to survive. Out of necessity, in fact, I think because of my situation, I needed to be able to provide for my kids. And there was 4 of them, which was a lot. And, you know, someone was always homesick. And someone always needed to go somewhere else. And just at like the bare minimum functioning as a mom, there was a lot going on there. And so that's where I created the online part of my business where I started with one-on-one clients. I knew I was really good personally, like face to face. But one-on-one gave me an opportunity to take on clients from wherever I was and have the flexibility to be, you know, at the play place with my kid or watching a soccer game with my kid or homesick with my kid and still be able to work. Mm-hmm. And so that was sort of like, how can I do what I do, what I'm really good at in a way I can make money and still raise 4 kids on my own? Did my kids probably suffer a bit? I think, yeah, like I was working all of the time, but I had no choice. Now I'm making really great money. At the time I made okay money to get by and do minimum things with my kids. So it wasn't exactly rolling in the dough, but I had to figure out how to make that dough.
Yeah.
I think now they've come to, now is really great. Now is really great. They understand the sacrifice. Like, it's interesting because their dad wasn't the provider. Their dad was the fun one. Their dad was the one that had the time to spend with them. I had to worry about paying their bills and taking them to the doctors and making sure they graduated and went through school and all of that. And they really saw him as this parent who was like there for them and listened to them and understood them and all of that.
Yeah.
And only now, my kids, I think, are appreciating the sacrifices that I made for them. Like, I missed out on a lot of that because I had to work and pay the bills, not because I didn't want to be the fun one. And I think I'm pretty fun, but I don't know.
I think you are fun. You know what? You're saying all this, and Arlene Dickinson, who's a friend of mine, when I had her, and we're going to talk about slaying dragons, because you did. We're going to don't worry. I'm on that. That one I got to know about. But Arlene said to me, because again, she was in a very similar situation, 4 kids, the breadwinner, a breakdown of a marriage. And she said something very interesting to me, which was the hardest part of being a woman entrepreneur is you've got to be prepared to know that doing that thing is going to damage the relationship with your children, that you're sacrificing a lot with your children in a way that men don't, even when men are entrepreneurs, because there's not that notion that a father is, home with them and schooling and doing their homework but there's always the expectation that the woman is, right? So kids grow up watching other kids' moms be president of the PTA and bringing in muffins and da-da-da-da-da. When you're an entrepreneurial mother, there's a lot of that you miss. And you've got to be prepared to have those conversations with your kids later to help them hopefully get to a point where they're going to understand your why. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Oh yeah. And sometimes those conversations happen at like pivotal times and sometimes they're messy because it just gets, especially with teenagers,
100%.
right? Why can't you be more like dad? And why can't you this? And it's like, let me tell you why. Right? Like, you guys want to know the truth of the why?
Your dad gets to be your dad because I have to be mom and dad. So there you go.
Yes.
Right?
And mind you, I really held off on having those until they were at an age where I felt I could have that conversation with them. They were in the dark about it, and I just let that happen, knowing that was what was best for them. I also knew their dad was sick and he was running on a timeline, and so I let him have that. And I was just like, you do you, I got the rest. But I think, like having those conversations, like my kids, I think, because I spent so much time on my phone, thought I just was, I don't know, on my phone doing like social media all day, not actually working. So they had a really skewed perspective in their defense of what I did. I just sat around on my phone all the time. And I'm just like, I'm not talking to my friends. I have no friends because I'm trying to pay bills.
I don't even have a life. I don't have hobbies. I don't have anything because I am building this not for me, for us, right? But it's the beautiful part of, like, all kids are naturally narcissistic, right? You just got to hopefully raise them out of that, that they grow up to be like open-eyed humans and grown adults. But yeah, I mean, this is a very real issue that we run into as entrepreneurial females, is because, my kids say, I look at you, you're on your phone again. Well, I'm not making really epic videos for TikTok. I wish I knew how, because then maybe I wouldn't have to. But it's like you're running business, and you have employees that have questions. You have clients that have questions. It's and the hard part of that is you miss a lot to do that, to build that, to get to where you amazingly are at right now.
Yeah. And I hope I don't regret that. I'm trying to live life in a way where I'm not going to look back and regret. I did have my son the other day, and he was like, yeah, you're addicted to your phone. And I was like, you think so? Because I think there are times that I'm on my phone, but then I can also go days not being on my phone. And I have a hard time with middle ground. I'm all or nothing. And I'm like, really? Like, do you honestly really think that? And he's like, yeah, I think you do. And then we were like, let's break this down. Is it that my addiction to the phone because I'm working? And he said to me, I think you have an addiction to working. And I was like, oh. And I was like, there might be some truth to that. Mm-hmm. And so maybe I don't have to work as hard. Maybe I don't have to make sure everything happens in the way that I want it because I'm so terrified it's going to get taken away from me. Like, maybe there's clearly something for me to learn, because it did irk me a little bit. But, I had that conversation with him. He's 17 years old, right? Is it really that I'm addicted to my phone, or is it work? And then he said, well, you really like what you do. And I'm like, I do. And then not only that, but I do important work. And my kids have had the opportunity to meet some of the people that I've helped. We've taken them to some trade shows, or just randomly on the street, or just, I don't know, we can be halfway across the world and we run into someone who's done my program, and they're able to meet real people who say, oh my goodness, like your mom's program, like saved my life or helped me this or whatever. So I think it's all coming together for them.
Yeah.
But it's happening organically. But there was definitely some times where I felt like a huge, massive failure, that I was the worst mom in the world, what have I done? And, but now I can't go back. So now I just want to live in a way where I'm not going to regret,
the future. Any of it.
So what were those bumps in the road where you were like, oh wow, I've really fucked this mom thing up?
Well, I think my oldest, who deals with some mental health issues, and when she was young, she had a boyfriend that I was trying to be supportive of, and I probably just should have said, no, you can't date them. But I wanted to be that mom that supported them and their choices. And, I think that I should have made a lot of uncomfortable decisions for my kids, meaning that they were probably going to hate me, but this was the best thing for them, rather than, because I felt so much mom guilt, I was like a real yes mom.
Yeah.
And when you're a yes mom, it's very hard for your kids to hear no in the real world. There was a moment where Tony, my husband, and he's fabulous and he's amazing, and I said to him, I don't understand why my kids are not like me. And he's like, if I may. And I'm like, yes. He's like, well, your mom raised you, and you are raising your kids. And from what you've told me, your mom raised you a lot differently than the way you are raising your kids. And it's true. My mom said no a lot. I learned to become very independent because my parents didn't do things for me. And I was one of those fix it for my kids, figure out a way for my kids. Like, what can I do to make my kids happy? I just wanted my kids to be happy. And, rather than figure it out. That was my parents' way. And so I learned to figure it out. And so I think I really fucked up my kids by not saying no more often.
That's so incredible, because I wrote Raising Your Kids Without Losing Your Cool and Parenting Your Teen Without Losing Your Cool. And, I talk about that in my books. Is like, and I three things I'm going to say here. One, I don't think it was your fault. I think what a lot of women whose kids are your age, like youngest being 17, and I think is your oldest 24? Is that? Yeah. 24, yeah. So you've got 4 kids in that age. You were in the thick of the social pressure where everybody gets a ribbon. Everybody wins. Nobody falls. Nobody fails. And if you allow your child to do that, then you're the parent that's being gossiped about on the play yard. So there was such this, it wasn't even hidden, like out in the open pressure to be inclusive and to buffer and shelter. So one, I'm gonna give you that, because I think that's, you were in that generation of parenting. 2, you were wearing mother father hat, which as soon as you have to be totally in your masculine, you can't really be in your feminine. And so what happens is, if you notice, oftentimes it is the father that's like, yes, 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 because they're not used to dealing with the temper tantrums and the fallout. Like, it's usually the mother who's like, good guy, bad guy, right? Like good cop, bad cop. And it's usually the mom who's like, fuck that, I got to live with this asshole. If I spoil them, it's going to be a no for me, because you get to just take them for freaking ice cream. You know what I mean? So I think that's another part of it. And third, I think you were just carrying a lot of guilt, because you were like, you were in survival mode. Like, from the outside looking in, you were like, your cortisol must have been through the roof. I can't even believe you were able to lose weight, fight or flight. But, so you put all those 3 things together, and shit, you're not saying no when you should.
Yeah, I say no now.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversations, and I've shared this with them. And I do say no now, but the biggest conversation I'm having them, which they do understand, because they're really big on mental health.
Yeah.
And they're massive advocates for mental health. And I say to them, your parents have mental health issues. I'm for sure went through postpartum bouts of depression. I got my own shit going on over here. And sometimes we look at our parents as like, they don't matter and they don't count because they're older and they know better. And one of the things that changed my relationship with my mom was understanding like, okay, yeah, she maybe made mistakes, but she did the best she could at the time.
Yeah.
And also she's human and she has her own hopes and dreams and thoughts and opinions.
And disappointment and pain and like just the shit like you kept from your kids. Like you took the load of your husband's illness and your ex-husband's illness and inability to step up. And you're like, I'm going to shield them from this. And we do that as women, you know? So these are all like really important things for kids to know, but also for women to be like, examine yourself. Like, where are you operating from?
And I think it's like, okay, so maybe I messed up my kids for lack of a better word, but now I do know better. And these are the conversations that I am having with them. And that's what's great about the ages that they're at. And I can have really frank conversations with them, in which we do. I'm sort of an over talker, an oversharer, you know, like, how are you feeling? If my kid's like, fine. I'm like, no. My new thing is like, I see all those commercials now where it's for kids helpline, where the kid's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, no. I watched this commercial and the kids that are saying they're fine are not fine. They're calling the kids helpline. Are you calling the kids helpline? Like, talk to me.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, that's another thing. And my kids are about to be 36, 34, and then the youngest is 28. And, you know, I still will say things to them like, I am not perfect. And sometimes when you speak to me in a way, it's going to trigger something from way back that has nothing to do with you or even me, you know, and I'm going to take you out. Like I got to go right back to my roots of being a punk ass kid, you know, almost in the projects, you know, and I'm going to go there. So get ready. Cause don't cross that line. But, you know, I think, you know, the biggest thing that we can do with our kids is own our shit, you know, and apologize for the things we did that we didn't do. Like my middle and my little are so evolved. And they say all the time, they're like, because, you know, our youngest is now at the age where she was, I guess, a year old when we had her, you know, and then our eldest is at the age where she already was 16 years old and she's got a 3-year-old, you know, so they're starting to put the pieces together, certainly the middle and the youngest. And they'll be like, oh my God, how did you have 3 children? I can't even, my dog throws up and I'm like, this dog is dying, you know, like, so it's getting to the point where we can allow for those conversations of grace and forgiveness. And I think that's what makes beautiful relationships with our kids as they get older.
Yeah, well, looking back at my mom, a lot of things make sense because she had me when she was 21. She got married when she was 19 and had me when she was 21. So you can imagine trying to deal with like 13-year-old when you're just like 30. You'd rather be out partying and doing other things. Like now it just makes so much sense. But really like I'm a hold myself accountable. You do not have to point my shit out. I am the first person to tell you what's going on with me. Like I'm so self-aware like that. I'm the first person to apologize, the first person to say I got it wrong. I wish more people were like that. And I also have learned to give myself grace and compassion. And again, just like everybody else, I think this is where I come from, or I have to do this for me, so I have to do it for everybody else. Everybody is just trying to live their best life. Yeah. They're just trying to do their best. Sometimes they don't get it right. And that's okay. It doesn't make them a bad person. And there's got to be room and opportunity for growth, not just for my kids, but I think for me as well. And that's one of the things I've taught them. Like, hey, I'm just trying to figure this shit out too. You know, like,
yeah. And I think they like that, you know?
Yeah, give me a break. But I think they like that because it gives them permission to be messy, right? Yeah. And it gives them permission to fall down and be like, okay, the world's not going to end. I made a mistake, or I handled this in an improper way. Like, I think we've done them such a huge disservice by not allowing them to be messy, you know, and figure it out, how to get to the other side on their own. And yeah, of course we don't, you know, the autocratic way of raising children is not healthy and not ideal and not a way to go. But can we kind of land somewhere in the middle? Because giving them their own space to find out who they are is actually a good thing without us spoon feeding who they should be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, my latest thing is let them, the Mel Robbins book is just let them, but also more than that, let them have their feelings. Like I don't try to sugarcoat things. If something terrible has happened, I'm like, that's terrible, right? Like that's sad. That's like, oh, are you mad? Like that's maddening. Whereas I used to be like, okay, that's sad, but look at this, la la la. I used to like try to, I don't want to say I was like trying to invalidate their feelings. I was trying to make them feel better. And
100%.
sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's just shit. That sucks. I'm sure you feel really uncomfortable right now, but this is how it is, right? Like not shielding them from the feels helps them deal with the feels.
I agree. And I had a therapist once say to me, like, if you are apologizing or if you're offering support and it's followed with a but, stop yourself right there. Because that but is nobody needs to hear your but. Nobody. If you're apologizing, don't but anybody, because you're getting a rainstorm of shit on your head because your butt totally wipes out everything else you just said. So that stuck with me. And I find myself, I'll be like, to your point, talking to the kids and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, and I'm like, no, it's in here. Don't let it come out. Sometimes they just want us to listen. Do you find your marriage with Tony, how has that changed how you parent? And has it at all?
Oh my God, he's such a good parent. He's a way better parent than I am, which is really interesting because I think maybe when he was younger in his first marriage, he had the idea of children, or at least his first wife wanted children. And then when we got together, I was older. I think I was 42 and he was 36. And so I was like, hey, do you want kids here? Like, you got to chop, mister. Like, I don't got a lot of time. And I think he thought he did for a while, and then he changed his mind and he came to this realization he just didn't want children. But the way that he has embraced my children, I still am in disbelief. I'm expecting him to get in his car and drive away and never come back, like every day. Like I don't understand why he stays. And he is so involved. He drops them off at school, picks up groceries, come back. He takes them for their driving lessons. He helps them getting into university. He helps them with school. Like he's taking my kids to their doctor's appointment today. And not because I can't, because he wants to. And he is so understanding. You know that trigger thing you were just talking about? My kids will say something to me and I'll get triggered and I'll be like, "Rah." And Tony will just stand there with them and be like, are you okay? Like, what's happening right now? And he's so calm and patient and understanding. My oldest is just going through it. And I get it. And I feel so much for her, but she's made life very difficult. And she's done some pretty, some not nice things, and it's where she's at and what was going on in her life, but it's hard sometimes. And he is just so, I don't want to say I'm not forgiving, but he is just so just like freely forgiving and understanding and patient and kind. And I don't know, like he's just in all the ways that I am not. And it's really wonderful to see. And sometimes it makes me feel like, oh, I wish I could be more like him. I don't need to be, because he's great. He's really great. And it's really nice to see. I'm truly blessed. He's just I don't know where his love for my kids comes from, but it's there, and it's pretty amazing.
I love hearing you share that because, so often I had a guest on earlier, and, she had decided to end her marriage to her husband, and her kids are 7 and 4. And, I think for women, oftentimes we stay in relationships that are done and over, speaking intimately with the partner of our children, because we're so afraid of what that's going to be for them to be missing that piece, that, that other side of them, and that parent who has a different perspective on, outbursts or struggles. And, the second part of all of that, and why I think we stay with the wrong person, is because the fear that there's no way somebody who didn't make these children with me could ever possibly love them and care for them. And I don't want them to just love me, like literally a whole package deal. But it's so rare, I think, that you find somebody who, like Tony, like that's beautiful that he does it because he wants to, not because he's like, well, I gotta clock in and I'm Gina's husband. That's beautiful.
It's interesting because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I think my realization is I think there are people who are really capable of that. And I think it's maybe on our end that we're not open to it because we think that they're not capable when given the opportunity, they truly are. And, Tony, in the beginning, I remember I had some friends who they just were not a fan of his, because he was trying to figure out his way. He was unsure and he was being honest about that with me. And those are hard conversations to have, but I'd rather someone be honest with me and know what I'm dealing with and be able to have the conversations. And I think a lot of times people are really quick to judge. And maybe people don't have those conversations or develop those relationships because they're assuming that that's not possible. And I think there are a lot more people like Tony out there who have a lot of love to give. Mm-hmm. And even if it's to children in their teens that they weren't around for half of their life. And really, Eli, it's something, it's making me emotional because it's something specifically I've been thinking a lot about just in the past few months. Maybe it's because he's really stepped into the role after my kid's dad died, but he was there before. Mm-hmm. And he's just so accepting of them. It's really fascinating. And it's me who questions it, not him. He doesn't question it. It's me questioning it.
Yeah.
It's not coming from him. And I think it's the people questioning it, not the people offering it up. Maybe that it's so hard to believe, I think there are more people like him out there.
That's beautiful. Well, that's good to know for anybody who's on the fence because you think you can't find somebody better or somebody more loving or kind or whatnot that's keeping you stagnant, and stuck in something that's not good for you. So let's go on in the story of Tony and the kids. And because you are like me, my girls work for our companies. Our reason for having our girls work for our companies is like, well, we need these people to fill these roles. They're going to inherit the wealth from anything we build. So how about they put some fucking sweat equity into it and not just sit back and inherit everything? So that was the method to my madness. I said to my business manager, I said, okay, so hold on. So I need this person to do this. I need a person to do this. We need a person to do this. Well, all three of my girls are qualified in all those areas. Can I hire them? And she's like, well, yes, of course you can. And I was like, good, because then these bitches aren't getting it for free.
I love that. I love that. I think we went to the National Women's Show and the three of my kids came just to see what it's all about, to help out. I'm making my daughter who's home today come down and organize the closet here at work because there's a lot of organizing and stuff that needs to go. I think it's a great way if you do have a business to involve your kids in it so they see what it really takes. I'm also really open for them going away and finding their own path.
For sure.
Hopefully coming back to us. I mean, I think I love that for them, that they know that there's this safety net, this space where in a world that, is just so full of unknowns, for people that they can venture out and then have this place to land and have a job with the company. My son, who's like the smarty pants of the family, every now and then we joke about him and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to not do that. And so
is he the one who said you were addicted to your work?
Yes. I mean, he's the one I think Tony would hope would run the business one day. And he's like the one that's like, yeah, I don't know. I remember having a safe place to land with my parents. Financially, they couldn't really, they helped out where they could. But I didn't ever think I had a financial safety net with my parents. And so part of why I was dependent, but I also knew I could go home at any time. Yeah. I knew I could move back at any time. I could go back at any time. And so that allowed me to take risks in my life and go for it. And I hope to provide the same for my kids, that, knowing that there's a place for them in the family business, that it will allow them to take risks and really want to pursue things that they're passionate about. And obviously they have to make money at. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely not into providing. Like, I think I might want to be one of those people that are like, maybe there's a trust, but you can't have it unless you like, I don't know, got your own thing going on.
Yeah, ours is all like certain ages, and as they get older, that gets further apart. You know what I mean? Like when our will, when they were young, it was like certain amount at 21, certain amount at 30, and then 35 kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think what we need to do, certainly as entrepreneurs who are building empires, is we need to be thinking in the future of, right? Because I think we work hard, we have success, and there is the potential to spoil them by not asking them to step into anything. Whether, to your point, it's go find your own thing that you love, that you're good at, that you can make money at. And if you're struggling with finding that, because, my girls went through COVID. My little one graduated university in 2018. She was sitting her LSATs. She's getting ready to do that. And she was like, oh no, maybe I do want to do the acting thing. So she was applying for schools in New York to do acting. And then our middle one was in LA killing it. I mean, she was dressing Travis Scott, for the Super Bowl, the Grammys, everything, and videos. And then she was working under Kanye for a time. Like, they were doing their thing. And then the world shut down, and getting back into, well, who am I? Like, what do I want to do? It's a process, but I think we do them a huge, huge disservice by not expecting anything.
Yes. I think that they're not going to be happy unless they have a purpose. But I mean, I think this is maybe the side of entrepreneurship that creates opportunities that people don't think about, right? Beyond just you and what you get out of it. If you have children, if you have family, if you have friends who are looking for opportunities, you can provide those for people, right? Like I think that's just another plus, or, the opposite of working, sacrificing the things that we have sacrificed. So maybe when they were young, it was to their detriment. And now that they're older, maybe one day they'll appreciate it. When, they're cashing the check with my name on it, that they would have worked really hard to earn. They would have worked really hard to earn, for sure. I mean, Tony was raised in an environment where his parents emigrated and they didn't speak English. And so they couldn't do a lot of things for him. So they just had to figure out how to get things done. And he's very much about making sure that although we are really blessed, the kids are very independent. They are, they're able to follow through and do things on their own and create their own lives for them. As much as it is nice, and hopefully they're not listening, that we do have that kind of safety net.
I can assure you my girls are not listening. I could say all the shit I want. I could divulge all the secrets. No, my girls are awesome. They're still my favorite people. If I have a lunch or dinner plan with you and one of my girls rings up and goes, "What are you doing tonight?" Well, I'm doing this. Why? Oh, well, I thought maybe you and I'm like, ring, 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 gotta cancel. You know what I mean? Like they're my favorite. They're my favorite people. Even to the point Yannick did a TV series with Rick Springfield, Jesse's girl. So that was like 35 years ago. We were stranded in New Zealand together. His wife, Barbie, and I became fast best friends. And I was just on the road with them in October. I went and joined her and was a groupie for a weekend with her. And she knows me and Yannick from when we were little kids, and I said to her, I got a confession to make. And she said, what? And I said, do you know when I'm alone at the cottage doing my marina thing, or even if I'm alone in Toronto and he's filming on location, if we're not together, if I'm like in the middle of popcorn and wine in bed watching a TV show we don't watch together, and my phone goes off, it's a FaceTime. I said to her, I act like I didn't see it. Like I put it down. And she goes, you're terrible. Why do you, poor Yannick, because she's so in love with him. And I said, but if my girls call me FaceTiming me, I'm like, I better pick that up. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just funny how we are with our children is like so much more leeway of, and it should be that way, right? Because you want your kids to feel like they matter and that they're important.
And I want to hang out with them. I function from a place where I expected they want to hang out with me too, and that's not always the case. We just started skiing as a family, and it is like I cannot. We started a couple of years ago with two of our kids, and now we got our second oldest on board. And we went to Banff a couple of years ago. Tony's brother and his family is in Edmonton, and we hung out with them. It was great. And so my daughter Lucina is like, I want to come too. And we're like, the caveat is you have to ski. Yeah. You have to be able to ski, and you have to be able to ski all day, and you can't whine, and you got to be able to ski. And so she's been taking lessons, and she loves it. So I just am so happy about that. But the whole thing, we get up early as a family, and we make breakfast, and we truck in the car at, whatever hour in the freezing cold, and we get there and we're all putting on our stuff, and we go skiing, and we hang out at the chalet. And it is my favorite. The time I just cannot believe the time I get to spend with them is just like,
You should love it. And it's a blessing that they do want to do those things, because people say to me all the time, why do you take your girls on so many trips? Like, why? Like the middle and the little, right? Because the eldest is married. She's in Ottawa. She's got her husband. She's got her kid. I said, because one day they'll be like Brianna, and I won't have that access, and they won't have that ability, And so I'm like, damn, if they're available and they want to come. And it's so funny you say skiing, because we're a family that skis together. In fact, true story, when I started dating Yannick at 18, I guess 19, maybe 20, it was wintertime. We had our eldest daughter. She was a few months old. And his father said to me, you got to ski to be in this family. And I was like, oh. And I said to Yannick, my mom always said to me, because I was a competitive dancer, my mom always said, you can't ever ski, because if you break your legs, that's it. Kaput for the dancing. So, but I never instilled that in our girls. And our girls have been on skis since they were 2, and it really is such a magical time and a great way to spend winter without dreading winter.
Yeah, it's just family time spent together doing something active. We are travel broke. We spend all of our money on traveling. We bring the whole family with us, and traveling with my kids is like the best. Seeing the world, not just with my kids, but with my mom. My mom didn't travel a lot when she was younger, and to be able to travel with my kids and my mom, and we did a big trip to Asia last year. We brought Tony's family. There was 12 of us. That's where I want to spend all my money, is on experiences with the people that I love. And this is one of the reasons why I work so hard too, financially. I'm not apologizing for it. I want to make a lot of money so I can spend it on my family and my friends and on these experiences and travel. And yeah, I'm like you. There's going to be a time where they're not going to want to spend time with me. So I'm going to bribe them, make them. That's all I'm going to do.
They are my prisoners until they are no longer. So Yannick and I very much live with there's never been a hearse behind, there's never been a U-Haul behind a hearse. You go the same way you came in, you leave with nothing. So the least, for me, I'm always thinking the least I can do is leave something for my children to hold on to. Not like, I wish I'd had more time with mom. I wish I had more memories of mom. I wish I'd had more experiences with, because once you're gone, you're fucking gone. You can't change anything. So that's how I operate.
If you have ever sat beside someone who is in their final hours of their life, it is not about anything that they have. It's not about anything that they've accomplished in their life. It's about the time that they have spent and the memories that they are leaving with. Mm-hmm. And that is it. And I think that goes both ways. And who gives a fuck if you spoil your kids? What does it matter? So what? But if you want to spoil your fucking kids, have at it. Is that what I would do? Maybe not. But that's what makes you you. That's what makes me me. And why can't we all just respect that and get along? Listen, I see my beautiful necklaces. I got these for $16.99 off of Amazon. They will probably go green after a while, but yes, I spend my money on. I remember someone, this just broke my heart. Someone was like, I don't want to sign up for your program because I'm just paying you so you can go on all these vacations. And I'm just like, doesn't everybody aspire to do better? Doesn't everyone want a raise in their job, a promotion in their job, to start a company, to be successful? And how you spend your money, you spend your money. How I spend my money, I spend my money. Some people live in big, beautifully homes. My background is nice. Everything else in front of me is a shit show, right? Like, so I think what makes me happy is different from what makes someone else happy. And at the end of the day, I'm going to look back at my life and I want to be happy with how I lived it. I'm not going to give a fuck how anybody else lived their life at the end of the day.
Or what they thought about how you lived your life. Because at the end of the day, they're not coming on board anyway. And you know what drives me crazy about the statement you just made? Hold on a damn minute. So you don't want to do my program because the money I earn doing my job, my career, I use it in the way I choose to use it. Excuse me, person, what do you work for? Like, ask your, it's like, what do you spend your money on? Like, don't you aspire to travel?
Exactly. They said the thing is that they're missing out on is that I actually want to help them and I have a really great program. Yeah. And how sad for you, because I don't know what kind of person you think I am just because I love traveling. And what I love about traveling is the people that I'm with, not the places that I'm staying. And if you ever follow me when I'm traveling, I'm not like, oh, here's my beautiful la 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 la. I'm like, here's me with my husband or my kids or my family, and we're doing this, which I personally think is inspiring because when I like seeing other people do it, so I will share part of my life because it's my life. And then I think people also forget social media. I also have friends. I have family who follow me, who actually care about me and what I'm doing and want to see what I'm doing. And love seeing my mom on vacation and love seeing my kids experiencing the world, especially after their dad died and they've been through so much, right? So yeah, I think I try not to live a judgmental life. I just try to accept people for who they are. And I wish other people were capable of doing that. I had a similar friend situation, which was, I mean, a simple conversation could have just made everything okay, but they were unwilling to have that. And I'm so grateful for that. I've learned that although that was really upsetting for me, I'm in such a better place because that person is no longer in my life. I don't wish them any ill will or anything like that, but that was one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that's the universe having your back. Like that's when you're a good person, you don't mean any harm. You're doing the best that you can. And sometimes situations are so hard to explain, right? Like if you just could have said this or said that, it could have totally changed the trajectory. But I think sometimes when things are so hard for you to explain or trying to explain them you feel is difficult, you don't need to explain it. Yeah. You don't need to explain. You don't need to explain how you raise your kids, why you raise them that way. It's just, you don't need to explain it.
And this is the thing, right? Like, we talk about forgiveness and we talk about how letting go, it heals you more than it does the other person. Because the reality is if there's the difference between somebody being unwilling to own their shit in the demise or breakdown of something. And then there's people who just don't know what that shit was. And you rake them over the coals and they're like, what have I done? Like there's been no conversation, and I think it's so important as human beings, especially in this time of social media. It's like we're so used to bullet point information and then we go off like we're experts. I mean, I don't personally, I live my social media very much like you. Like I do some stuff I know the people who are friends and family who follow me, who want to catch up, see the girls, see me. And then there's a part of it like, well, I also do this podcast and I have these books and, I have this marriage. This is me, all of me. Like my social media encompasses all of me. But one thing you're never going to get from me is I'm not going to go low when you go low. I might correct you when you're misinformed, but I'm not going to go low, and too many people go low.
Yeah. I think in a world of AI and in a world of clickbait and all this stuff that's going on, I think being the real deal, I think that's where it's at. And I think this is where what's really telling is the people on social media who are trying to be authentic. You shouldn't have to try to be authentic. And I think if you are rubbing some people the wrong way, then you are being true to you. I don't try to please everybody. Right. I don't try to be palatable for everybody. I don't. I'm just I swear a lot on my podcast where I passionately go live 5 times a week for an hour to help people and share everything that I know with the intention of really trying to help people. So I say fuck every now and then. And every now and then I'll have someone saying, well, you don't sound very smart. Well, I don't give a fuck if I sound smart, but I am really good at what I do. And I am pretty smart when it comes to weight loss. And if you can't respect that, then see ya. Well, I don't like when you swear. Well, I don't fucking care. Like I sit up here because I'm sharing myself with you. Why can't that be enough for you? Why can't you overlook a couple swear words and really hear what I'm saying? And so this is where I've made a choice to not try to be something for everyone.
Right.
Love me, hate me. I don't give a fuck. What I really hope that you do is still do my program, because you're missing out. You're missing out on a great program because maybe, you don't really like me. Which is why in all the program content, there's no swear words. It's very helpful. But I think people are so quick to judge. They're not understanding. They're not compassionate. And I think a lot of people really lose in the end because of that.
I agree. You miss out on a lot of things because of your own things you're uncomfortable with. And it's your right. It's your right. You get to choose who you hang out with. You get to choose who you give your money to, for sure, for sure, for sure. I remember when I first went on social media and I was doing my weekly blog, or maybe it was daily blog. And the comments I would get back, Murdoch's wife would never talk like that. Well, then it's a good thing I'm not fucking married to Murdoch, a fictional character. He's pretend, right? Well, then you probably don't want to know that Murdoch likes oral sex either. Like, the fuck is wrong with people? I'm like, come on now. But I had to deal with that. But enough about that. So going back to your program, because I am not letting you off the hook, and I don't even know what time we're at. We're not closing in on Joe Rogan 3-hour time, but my producer just went, you're at 1. So
I have a producer like that as well. They're like, you said, I'm like, forget what I said.
Forget what I said. Okay. So your program, how many people, and it's not just for women, by the way, Gina's program works for men and women. How many people would you say you're at right now with helping successfully lose and keep the weight off?
A couple 100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's really cool, and I don't have like statistics of exact numbers, but that's how many people have run through the program. And 98% of people who hit our maintenance program feel confident in their ability to maintain and sustain. So we have this woman, Ruth Kane, at the University of Ottawa, who's been studying the program for the last 2.5, 3 years. And she actually received government funding to do so. And once she studied the online platform of being able to teach people remotely how to make change, that's where her interest originally started. She also lost 70 pounds of the program, so she was interested. Then we studied the efficacy, and we know that people are not just losing weight, they are losing a clinical amount of weight when following the program, which is more than 5% of your body weight in 6 months. People are losing more than that in 3 months with our program. Also, there is zero downside to the Livy method, and not all diets can say that. It is physically safe. It is mentally sane. It is really, truly a feel-good program that helps people make real change in their lives. And now she's studying what are the commonalities between the people who are able to maintain and sustain their weight years later. So now she's done a ton of focus groups on people. Next is clinical studies. Do we want to work with metabolic clinics? But I have always known I had a program that works and is sustainable. That's the purpose of putting it out there for the world. And now, of course, there's all these new GLP-1 medications that people are taking, and the program is such a perfect complement to people taking these medications. Like, they can be game changers, but they're not going to fix everything.
Right.
And if ever you want to come off them, you've got to make real change in your life. So she's studying the sustainability right now. And then the next thing is clinical studies. And so we'll start gathering like more concrete numbers. And we know like certain statistics of what people are accomplishing. We do a survey at the end of the program. But that clinical study, I think, is going to be a game changer for us. So I'm excited about doing that.
Well, yeah, for you as an entity, and as a program, I did your program, and I was fortunate enough that I did one-on-one. It was pre-COVID. And, what I loved about your program, in contrast to so many others that I interviewed, is it's all about real life. like how you're really gonna live your life. Food was still savory. Food was still, it was not taboo. And it wasn't like you're gonna drink broth and steamed broccoli and you're gonna take in less calories than a toddler. And then you're going to lose all this weight and you're going to feel really great. And then when you're like, my brain is dying because it's not nourished enough. My muscles are atrophying. Oh no, but wait, I can't. You still want me to lift weights and do cardio while I'm eating less than a toddler. You know what I mean? And people have made themselves famous, and I won't name any names, but there's 3 of them that I'm thinking of right now who were uber famous, in LA and globally. And when you look at their programs, they're so not ideal for brain health, because this is the thing we have to talk about is you need to fuel your body for your organs and your brain. The weight loss should be secondary. You always need to eat, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, in a way that you can still mentally function with clarity and that your body doesn't atrophy.
I mean, the oversimplification of calories in versus calories out and the doubling down on that. Like, sure, eat less, exercise more. It is one way to lose weight. It is not the only way to go about losing your weight. I mean, just the pure simple act of forcing your body to burn fat. So your body stores a certain amount of fat for emergency purposes. You force it to utilize that fat. Guess what you're doing? You're telling the body that it needs it. And so every time you do a diet, then the first chance your body gets, it stores it all back plus more. And then it learns to store more and learns to store more. And then you add menopause into the mix. And this is what's really exciting about that conversation is all that muscle mass through starvation diets. What's happening with our brain as we're entering menopause? It's just, how much less can you eat? How much more can you exercise? And it just doesn't work for you anymore. And so I'm not debating calories in versus calories out. It works. Sure. It's just not a sustainable way to be able to sustain and maintain your weight. One of the things that Ruth Kane is, her research is uncovering is that sustainability is all about awareness, and it's all about really understanding the changes that you need to make. It's acquiring the tools and the skills to make the changes in the first place. But recognize you can't just live the way that you were living and expect different results. I know that's so cliche, but you need to be mindful. You need to be more in tune. You should be able to trust when to eat. Oh, I'm hungry now. What to eat? Oh, I feel like a salad. I feel like a steak. Oh, how much to eat? Oh, I feel like if I take a few more bites, I'm going to be overly full. Okay, I've had enough. Whereas a lot of people's concept of being full or satisfied is just eating everything on their plate or feeling a certain fullness. You have to feel full means satisfied. And so just getting people in tune to their body's needs, giving them the tools that they need to work through issues and associations tied into food, beliefs you can do it, beliefs you are worthy. Some people pass traumas. Like a lot of people have a lot of trauma tied into food, how they were raised with food, how they come to see food, and then you add dieting on top of that. So it's just much more complicated. It doesn't have to be. Like, that's the beauty of my program is I've created an algorithm or formula for sustainable weight loss, which one week leads into the next, and we tell you exactly what you need to do. But I think people have made a lot of money off of calories in versus calories out, and they're so invested that to pivot would be damaging to them. They can't pivot, because then it would mean saying that what they told you before wasn't true. And this is why you get this doubling down on calories in versus calories out. It's just not healthy for you. It's just not sustainable. It's
detrimental. Yeah, you'll just spend your whole life dieting. Exactly. So I want to roll back a little bit because you kind of glanced through it. Perimenopause, you're now in that age. And I love that you're having so many people on your lives and on your podcast where you're addressing this, because it's a very real for women. And I think men go through hormonal changes too that is not talked about. And I know sometimes you get a little heat. Men can't have everything. Can't we just have our hormonal shift? But let's just call it what it is. Like, if you're living, you're aging. And if you're aging, everything is changing. Hormones are changing for men and for women. But specifically, I want to address women because there's a very real, everything you were doing up until a certain point can work. And then you hit perimenopause and it's like, it goes to hell in a handbasket. Are you finding your programs had to change? Has your program always been inclusive of perimenopause and menopause? Like, break that down for me.
Yeah. I've had women for years saying I'm in menopause, perimenopause, hormonal. They would just say hormonal. And there's a lot of hormones involved in weight loss, cortisol, insulin, hunger hormones. Like there's so many hormones people don't really think of. And so my program has always worked really well. And this is where I would get women at all different ages. Oh, I've never been able to lose weight. Now all of a sudden I'm able to lose weight, because it's not just what you're eating and when. It's focusing on your stress, your sleep, your moving your body in a way that's works for you, building up muscle mass, not just going to spin classes and cardioing your ass off. And so the program, because it's been so balanced and well-rounded, has always really beneficial to help women in all stages of life, but especially menopause. What I realized is I kept getting asked this question, and I'm like, why can't people just understand? Like, it's all the things that they're doing in combination, because reality now we're realizing is women knew very little about their bodies and very little about perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. And now as they're becoming more educated, they have more questions about it. And so I was like, what do I do? Do I do a menopause? I want to talk about it, but my current program, I literally could talk all day, every day about it.
Yeah.
I could gear all of it towards menopause. And so what do I do? Start a menopause diet, in which probably 80% of my people in my current diet would shift into that. So I was like, let me do this add-on. In staying in my lane and talking menopause and weight loss, menopause, of course, being the catch-all, I'm including perimenopause, postmenopause in there. What is the conversation? So why is sleep important in menopause, and how is that going to help with your weight loss, right? Why is moving your body in menopause important, and how is that going to help with your weight loss? Like, why do leafy greens not just help you with weight loss, but they help you in menopause? And so there was so much information. I almost got overly excited about it. And I created this kind of whole course, which I have to kind of like dumb down a little bit, because it's just so much information. I have this learning strategist who I work with, and she's like, no one is reading this. No one is absorbing this. It's too much, Gina.
Too much.
And so I love the conversation. And my biggest takeaways is you can get into HRT, you can take supplements, there are things you can do, but if you're not taking care of your stress and getting better sleep and trying to lift some weights and go for walks, and you don't have good relationships in your life, and you are, not eating healthy, the HRT is not going to help you lose weight.
Yeah.
It's just not going to help you lose weight.
Yeah.
So I think factored into all these other things, it was interesting because sometimes I have like naysayers who sign up for my programs to try to debunk me because it's so affordable. They just come in and like you go to their profile and you can just tell right away they're like a fitness expert or whatever. And this woman's like, what's the point of this menopause information? It's basically just everything you do in your group. And is this just to sell your menopause add-on? That's my voice when people are annoying. And like nowhere was I trying to sell anything. I did a post about what to keep in mind when you're in menopause and losing weight. And literally it was all the things listed in my program to reinforce to women, I got you. Everything that you are doing on my program is everything that you need to do to help manage your weight, lose weight in menopause. That's as simple as the conversation is. I'm not trying to sell nothing to anybody. That's just it. But sometimes to get women to believe that is a whole other thing because they've been taught to believe other things. So big, huge, massive conversation. I'm probably going to write the, menopause and weight loss, the Livy Method book sometime soon and put it all down for people. But it's not rocket science. I think the HRT part is tricky, getting a doctor on board, getting the tests that you need, if those are available and if you need them. Sometimes you just know you're in menopause. You don't need a test to tell you that. But I can tell you, here's what I love about the conversation. As you can tell, I'm passionate. I had night sweats so bad, I just blamed it on alcohol. I didn't have hot flashes. I've never had a hot flash. Night sweats, yes. I had frozen shoulder for like a year that I had physio on and chiropractor and whatever. And just all of a sudden one day it went away. I had vertigo so bad. Like I can't even tell you. I had heart palpitations. I literally thought I was having a heart attack. I had acid reflux so bad that there was a time that I couldn't eat anything without also feeling like I was going to throw up. And sometimes I did throw up. I blew it all off as stress. I blew it off because I wasn't, doing all the things for my sleep or doing all the things for, like moving my body. I blew it all off. And now I look back and I'm just like, that fucker, that was all fucking menopause. Like it's all fucking menopause. And so now, having gone through it, because I went almost 9 months without a period last year. Now I'm on like 4 months without a period. Hopefully I will be moving I will be able to have my menopause celebration day. Now I feel fantastic. I feel fantastic. I'm not taking any HRT, just doing the things that I knew I needed to do. And I think time, now I feel better equipped to really understand what women are asking now when they ask me, can I lose weight in menopause? Whereas before I'm like, of course you can. The program works really well, because all I knew was that it worked. But now I'm really understanding what they're asking. So,
well, I think this is the thing, right? Like shared experience makes us, when we're in these roles of educating and supporting, once you're in it, you're like, because you're like, no, my program works. But even though you were on your program, you still were having these symptoms. So where was I not doing the, wholly? And this is the crazy thing. First off, I have to go back and say, I love internalized misogyny. I love when women come to hang out with you just to fuck with you. I'm like, can't we leave that to the men? Like, why do you need to come into my house and start a rumble? Like, can you slow down, dial that back? So that's a thing.
You know what I love about my community, though? They stick out like a sore thumb because it's just gross. And everyone else is just so gracious and kind and understanding and there for the right reason. And when you do get someone who's in there, it's just like so obvious. It's just like, ew.
Yeah. You're like, this is cringe. Okay, now I have to ask you, because otherwise we are going to the 3-hour line. Speaking of staying in your lane, what car were you driving when you went in and slayed a dragon?
What car was I driving?
Yeah, like staying in your lane. What car were you in when you drove into the dragon's den and slayed the dragon? I can't believe we haven't talked about this.
My actual car? Let me just tell you, though, I did go and get a Slay the Dragon car. I won Canada's Top 100 Most Powerful Women a couple of years ago.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And then we did our dragon slaying, and it has come time for me to get a new car. And I always wanted the tan interior, I did all the minivans with the kids and all of that. And I was never really into cars, but of course Tony loves cars. He has like a 911 and loves his car. It's like his happy place. And since then, I've got myself a nice car with a nice tan interior. Though my kid the other day, sitting in the back fucking seat, got like, I don't know, like waterproof mascara or permanent fucking marker. This is why I can't have nice things. I should have known better. But anyways.
Things, darling. No white, no tan in my life, because I think, and I didn't own the car, but I guess we were somewhere and we were in a car with light interior, and I had dark wash jeans on. And let me tell you, that was not nice when I got up out of that car. I was like, oh, lesson learned. No. So I'm always black on black. But anyway, okay, so you went and you slayed a damn dragon.
We had to pull that together within 2 weeks.
Why?
And so other people we got a last minute opportunity, and I jumped. I was like, yeah, we're doing it. Tony and I have been fans. We've seen all the episodes of Dragon's Den. I love business. We used to talk about it. And we run a really good, ethical, sound, and profitable business. He's really great at business, thank God. Or we would be in jail for tax evasion. I would, not him. But he's really good at business. He's the business behind the business. I'm the more ideas creative person executing that type of thing. And so we had an opportunity. I'm like, we got to do it. And of course he's like, what? We do? Huh? What? I'm like, yeah. And then luckily I have a great production team that does all my videos and stuff. And they had used to work in YTV. And so they're used to props and stuff. So we put our heads together. What can we do for props? Because I used to work in television. I worked in television for years. Mm-hmm. And so I know what it meant to make something visual and creative. But the best thing about it was that we were like, what are we trying to do here? Because, I'm all about investors, because I don't need their money, but their knowledge, their connections, their know-how, right? And so we were totally all about getting an investor, and that was the intention. Also, amazing opportunity to tell all of Canada about our program. More than that, though, we decided to include members, real members who have done the program and lost weight. And having them there, if you watch the episode, they're the ones holding the signs and they walk in with us. Having them there, it became about making our community proud. Like really sharing this really great thing that we are offering to people so that they can be proud in it, so that they can say, yeah, I lost my weight in the Livy method, without people thinking it's some crazy crackpot diet or they cheated the system or whatever. Like, it was really about doing our members, our community proud. And I think showing up and doing that, it was magical. It was amazing. If anyone is listening and they're even considering going on Dragon's Den, just from a learning experience, what you have to get together to be on the show, what you learn about yourself, what the opportunity. There's a lot of, like, Arlene was pretty hard on me in the episode that aired, but she actually said to me that I was one of the most charismatic people to ever walk through the den. I was just like, what? So what they aired was her being hard on me, but she said the most, like, honestly, I wish I had a recording of it. I would play it every day, 10 times a day. So the experience, the dragons can be very tough on you, but also behind the scenes, they're really respectful of how hard you worked and where you've come from. And then obviously for TV, they have to make it entertaining. But what a really, truly great and validating experience for me. I cried a lot because it validated that I had done something that was worthy. Just saying it out loud, it's going to make me cry, but worthy of the sacrifices that I made when it came to raising my children. And so that was a really, like, great moment for me that I did this. And my kids got to come after and they got to see it. And so that was, like, meant so much to me, regardless of what happened with the deals. Obviously the dragons fought over us and that was amazing and incredible. And the fact that I got to do it with Tony was just so great. But yeah, it was such a really wonderful experience for us. Yeah.
It's great to be celebrated like that, not only you, but the people you've helped, but what a validating moment, because as people, when you're an entrepreneur, whether you're male or female, it is a massive sacrifice, I mean, devoting any amount of time to our work that takes us away from our families, is huge. So I'm happy for you, and I'm sure that probably started some healing for you in your relationship to your children and choices that had to be made in order to get where you are today, slaying dragons. So yay. You did it. And now, now is the time that your kids are old enough and now you can have those conversations and go backward a little bit and say sorry where we need to say sorry and, give them some perspective that they didn't have when they were younger, So to anybody who's listening right now, let's talk mostly about the program and weight loss and menopause and weight loss. If there are three things, because, life is complicated right now. It's expensive and there's a lot of instability with work and not everybody can, even though your program is so insanely affordable. And seriously, go follow Gina and you'll see that the only reason she's driving a nice car and gets to go on vacations is because the quantity of people she's helping. There's no gouging going on here whatsoever. And I can speak that way because I did the program with you. But for people who are really in a very dire situation financially and maybe even, they're not ready to commit money to weight loss because they have committed so much and lost nothing, right? We've seen that too, right? People do these online courses, they do programs and nothing happens or it all comes back. What are your top sort of three immediate changes that somebody can see to start them on the journey of weight loss?
Oh, I love this question because I think the food part isn't the most important part. It's the mental part. Take stock of what's your story with your weight? When did it start? How did you get to where you are? And not in a berating, punishing way. Like, what was going on in your life? Like, what are some triggers and things that happened? What worked well for you? What didn't work well for you? When did it start? When did you recognize you had a weight issue? Try to really understand where you've come from. to really understand where you are now. And then maybe right now might not be the time for you to be able to do all the things, but what is your why? Like what do you hope that weight loss is going to do for you? Why are you going to try to attempt any of the things to try to achieve this goal? So why is that? Like, and try to define it. Not just I'm going on vacation trying to lose weight for this or that, or if it's to be healthy, what does that mean? Try to define what your motivator for making change is. And then, so that's just like really understanding where you're at and where you want to go. I think and that doesn't take any money. Maybe a pen, piece of paper. The other thing is your sleep. Try to get better sleep. And there's always something you can do, whether it's waking up earlier and getting that sunlight on your face, or it's understanding sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene and getting better night's sleep isn't always go to bed early. It's sometimes it's not lying in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. It's actually getting up, going for a walk, reading a book, and then trying again. It's really truly being off your phone. It's really truly not watching TV. It's really truly doing the things that you can to get a better night's sleep. And I've learned this from my sleep experts, and it's not what you think sometimes is not what you think. Like you think go to bed early means better sleep. Sometimes people are better going to sleep later. Sometimes people better going earlier. So that doesn't cost anything. Doesn't cost anything to get better night's sleep. And your stress is probably the second thing. And you might not be able to, just like you might not be able to get more sleep, you can get better quality sleep. And just like stress, maybe you can't make your stress go away, but you can handle stress better. And people are like, I'm already doing the things. Right. Are you going for walks? Not walks to, get a workout, walks for your mental health. Are you calling a friend to talk about what's going on in your life? Are you doing deep breathing exercises? You breathe all day, every day. Have you actually taken a minute to do some deep breathing? I don't care if you're doing box breathing, 6 in, 7 out, whatever it is, just breathe deeper. That helps to calm your vagus nerve. Mm-hmm. There's so many things. Listen to music, have a dance party on your own, none of which cost any money. And those are the foundation of making change at the end of the day. Not the fancy foods, not the fancy programs, not the fancy personal trainers, not the fancy supplements. Those are the things that are going to give you the greatest impact, and they don't cost a cent.
See? Look at all those juicy golden nuggets. Like literally, it's true. We overcomplicate it. And I think why we overcomplicate getting healthy in our bodies is because we've tried so much. So many of us have tried so much without success. And so we've given up. Not only have we given up on the notion that it can be accomplished, but that we can accomplish it. Two things you said that were really interesting to me is what we are learning now, because we have so many female advocates for women's health, which I love, is that most studies have been done on men. So start listening to female advocates for mental health, menopausal health, weight loss. Like, let's lean into female advocates who are coming from a place of being female, being in the experience and having success, whether that's mental health, weight loss, whatever it is. Like, lean into female advocacy, because the sleep studies, women can operate on 6 to 8. Everybody can get 6 to 8. If you're getting 6 to 8, 6 to 8 works for men, but women are actually supposed to get 10.
Yeah.
And here we are raising kids, freaking up all night with one sick one, whatever. And we're like, oh, I got 6.5. I'm good. No, you're not in the zone. You're in the man zone. You're not in the woman zone. So just start listening to women about your health.
Yeah. And how do you know it's women you can trust, as they make sense? And trust your gut, and they're laying it out for you. Yes, they may have programs you can buy or books you can buy, but they're sharing great content for free because they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
Like you, every opportunity you get, you're trying to share what you know. You're trying to make the world a better place, and it's not costing anybody anything. And so that's how you know. They're in a world of distrust and everyone's saying everything. Trust your gut. And people show you who they are. They tell you who you are. All you have to do is just believe them. And, if you're searching what they're selling, and you can't figure out what they're selling without scrolling through 10 pages of their website, and, you go on their social media, you don't know what they're selling, then probably what they're selling, you don't want to buy. Yeah. And, this is where yes, look for women, but women who are authentic and real and really trying to make the world a better place. There's a lot of them. There's a lot trying to prey on what they know you desperately want and need. And then there's a lot of women out there who are really doing some really great work, who are trying to make a real difference in the world.
Well, those are the charlatans. And I hope that you have enough, intuition to recognize a charlatan against an authentic person. But
sometimes when people are desperate, though, they want what's fast and quick and whatever, and it's flashy. And, this is why I think doing that work of understanding where you've come from, where you want to go, what you need, and where you're at will help you attract and find the right people that are going to help you accomplish your goals, no matter what your goals are. I talk weight loss, but it's the same rules apply to reaching any goal in life.
Amen. Amen. And I know we're going to say it in the show notes, but in case you don't read show notes, where can people start? I recommend starting with Gina, because you go through her feed and her highlights. There's a lot of women, to your point, Gina, who are doing this, giving away their knowledge out of their passion for well-being for free. So I would start with Gina. Where can people find you?
So you can find me pretty much on social media, Gina Livy, anywhere. On YouTube, we're just starting YouTube, putting a lot of great content, free tips up there for people. We only run 3 programs a year, so there's a lot of people who want to get started and they missed out. Like right now, our current program is sold out, so we have to wait a few months. So we like to make sure people have information to get started on their own. Great tips where you can also interact with real community members. And there's a lot of proof in what we post. And so just across the board, social media, GinaLivy.com, also where you can head over to our website. We're pretty transparent over there. We tell you everything that you need to know. You can always just reach out through our contact form on our website and reach out to anyone in our customer service, and they'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
And I love that. Go hang out in her community and, DM some people who have gone through the program. And, while you're waiting, start following some of those tips. Your why. Where did it start? Where did it get a hold of you? And just start healing. And then when Gina's program opens up, you can sign up.
Well, I love that. Start healing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that so much.
Well, I love you so much. It's great to have you back. I'm so glad. Like, people are like, Gina. I was like, fuck yeah, of course, Gina. And here you are.
Let's do it again. Clearly, we have a lot more we can talk about. This felt like a hang for me. This was so not work. This is so great. This is I very rarely get an opportunity to just chat. Oh my goodness, it's been wonderful.
Well, I know it has been a great chat, and it has been 2 girls just gabbing. But I think there was a lot of good nuggets in there that I think we're going to really help people who, like you and I, going through the mom thing, going through the entrepreneur thing, going through the menopause. We're just always going through it. So hopefully we had some fun and levity, and people leave feeling better than when they came in. I know I do. So, hey, my work here is...
That was like therapy for me. I feel great. I feel fantastic. I am inspired, and I am uplifted, and I'm ready to go.
Amen. Me too, my friend. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Already looking forward to it.
All right. Without losing your cool, people, go, remember, do all the things. I'm an independent podcaster, so make sure you follow, make sure you comment, and definitely share, because like I said, there was a lot of good stuff in here that I think a lot of other women are struggling with and they need to hear. So thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I thank you for being here and hanging out. If you've missed past episodes, click up here. And if you're not subscribed, you got to click right down here. Get on that, will you?